It's pretty daunting when you lose your job or your business closes down or your income stream dries up. But I want to encourage you today not to panic when that happens. There's one guarantee in life, and that is that things change. But what you can know is that God is an unchanging God, and He will look after us in every single season. I think of me and my husband. We had a training and development company in 2010 for many, many years. And although it was an up and down journey, it was from the hand of God. And so we stayed committed to it no matter what. And God taught us many wonderful things. But in 2023, we planted a church in Cape Town. And the business started to dwindle down. And our provision from the business started to dry up. And eventually we got to a point where we couldn't keep the doors open anymore. But my husband always said, God gave us the business, God will shut it down. And so we knew God was busy closing the doors, and we trusted Him for strategy for what was next. But we did have a transitional period where we were setting up new income streams where we didn't have any income. And so God took us out of dependency on a system to dependency on Him. And I love Deuteronomy, where He's talking to the Israelites about taking them out of a system in Egypt of provision to trusting Him in a relational dependency. You see, God takes us out of trusting in patterns, systems, and people, and moving into a God dependence where we trust Him for our daily bread. It doesn't matter whether you are getting a set salary. You need to know that that comes from God. And if anything changes in your life, He is still your provider, and He will continue to provide. In Deuteronomy 11 verses 11, He says, rather the land that you will soon take over is a land of hills and valleys with plenty of rain, a land that the Lord God cares for, and He watches over through each season of the year. You see, in Egypt, their provision was guaranteed because the Nile River used to flood every time at the same time of the year. So they knew the water was coming, and then they would dig ditches with their feet and make irrigation paths so that the water would flow to their crops. So they knew that that was coming. God was taking them into a season where they weren't guaranteed. They didn't have the certain guarantee that it was going to be that way, but they had Him. And I love how it says He watched over them through each season of the year. That's what He's guaranteeing them. And He's saying, I will give you rain from heaven. God was teaching them about trusting. And we, in hindsight, looking at the season where there was a transition from not having certainty in income to setting up new income. And the Lord has been so faithful to us. He taught us how to be content with little and content with much. He taught us how to remain faithful and steward what we do have. He taught us how to focus not on our lack, but to focus on what was coming from His hand. He taught us to trust Him every single day, and He did miraculous things. I remember when we were fasting, one night we had no income, and suddenly the Lord released income into our hands. We have so many stories of memorials now that we can say, remember that God did that for us. And there's a trust, and there's a dependency, and there's a relational, okay, Lord, you know my needs, and I don't need to panic. We can know we have a God who never changes, and He guarantees that He looks after us all the time. He says to them in Deuteronomy 11:13, He says, if you will carefully obey my commands I'm giving you today, and if you love the Lord your God and you serve Him with all of your heart and your soul, then He will send the rains in their proper seasons, the early and the latter rain, so that you can bring in the harvest of your grain, new wine and olive oil. So He's telling us our responsibility is to love and to obey. And the Lord commands seasons. He's a commander of seasons. It doesn't matter where you find yourself today, with your back against the wall, if it doesn't look like you've got any guarantee, know this today. The Lord commands seasons. He looks after you. He will send the rain. He's the God who thrusts us out of dependency on a system into dependency on Him.